The Project One Question podcast episode has been something I've enjoyed doing over the last couple summers as I go to conferences. If you're not familiar with the premise, I have one question that I ask everybody that I can at the conference to get different answers to the same questions from different people in finance. So just got back from WellStack a couple weeks ago, finally getting around to getting this edited and getting it out. And Project One Question WellStack edition, I'm stealing a question from George Kinder. Now, I'm going to give you a little reason behind it and tell you about the question and what I was hoping to get from it, which I did. So if you're not familiar with George Kinder, he's been on the All About Your Benjamins podcast, and I encourage you to listen to that. I'd also encourage you to listen to the episode with my friend Scott Frank, because he has gone through Kinder's life planning process and actually implements life planning with his clients. But through the process of doing life planning, there are three questions that George Kinder is famous for. And I went straight to the third question, the most emotional, asking my guests on this podcast to be vulnerable. And not only be vulnerable just on a podcast, but on video as well. So there's a video edition of this. If you're watching this on YouTube, obviously you know. But if you're listening to this on the podcast, you can see the emotions and you can see the answers on video, which is a lot different than just hearing it. But so they're being vulnerable, and I want to thank everybody for doing that by answering this question. So what is the question? The question that I asked everybody is Kinder's third question. And it is basically, you go to the doctor today and you find out today is your last day. As you look back on your life and reflect, what would you do different? What regrets do you have? A very simple yet very deep and emotional question. And the reason I wanted to ask this is I viewed WellStack as a very progressive conference for our profession. We're looking at the future of financial advice, the future of the technology, future business models. What do we need to be doing as financial advisors to drive value for our clients, and where do we need to be taking our profession? Well, that was all covered at WellStack. I think that questions like this, and I think that life planning, whether you go through Kinder's program or not, I think getting deeper into the whys behind our clients and actually helping our clients build lives that they want, not just hit milestone goals like retirement and college funding, building these better lives through financial planning, I think that is the future of financial planning. I think that as all the talk about artificial intelligence, I think there are certain things that in the financial planning process that AI is actually going to be able to replace, but I think getting deep into the emotions of what makes people happy, what do they wish they were doing that they don't, I think that's something that one-on-one interaction is going to be necessary. And if you're a financial advisor wanting to stick around, take the technology, take the investment pieces that we gain from WellStack, and then incorporate that with deeper planning relationships with your clients. I think you have a business model for the future. So my hope for this was, if we ask our clients to be vulnerable, if we ask our clients to answer these questions, why not us on the other end, the financial advisor, open ourselves up? Why couldn't we be vulnerable and answer that same question so our clients can see what makes us tick? Now, I will answer the question as well because I think that that's only fair. Usually on these one question podcasts, it's all about my guest. But if I'm going to ask them to be vulnerable, I want to be vulnerable as well. So my answer to this question of, if I were to go to the doctor today and find out today was my last day, what would I do different? What would I regret? I feel that I'm very fortunate that I don't really have anything in my life that I would say I would want to go back and change. Maybe I'd want to start my own business a little earlier because I love having my own firm, but I wouldn't view that as a regret. There was a progression that got me here. I would be more focused on, what am I going to miss? I'm going to be thinking about Roman, Leo, and Silas and spending time with Ange, and I'm really thinking about the future of what I'm missing, and that is what would make me sad. So I think that is a very valid answer, and I think if you're an advisor asking this question, you may get some clients who answer that way. And if you're a client, that would be your answer. I think that's okay. The way I would receive that as a financial advisor is I would say, okay, great. That means the planning that we're doing has you living the life that you want to live, and that's good. We just need to maintain to keep that balance so that you don't begin to have regrets. And if you have regrets, then let's begin to shape our plan. And that's the point of the question. So why would you want to ask this for your client? Whatever your client's regrets are, if you're a financial advisor watching this, whatever your clients say they regret, that becomes the focus of the financial plan. We don't forget about the long-term goals. Retirement's still there, but when we start to look at what's most important for our clients, how do we help them build the life that they really want to live, whatever that regret is, that becomes the focus. How do we change your plan to make that regret go away? So that way, if next year was the end of your life, you do not have any regrets. You've done the things you want to do. I think a common answer for a lot of people is going to center around family. It's going to be, I wish I wasn't traveling as much. I wish I didn't miss games. Great. How do we change your life today? What changes need to be made? What financial sacrifices, what changes have to go on at work to allow you to not miss those things? And if it's that great of a priority that is the thing that you would regret and want to change, then you need to change the focus of your financial plan to allow that. It's not always going to happen that way, but I think these are the conversations that we need to be having as financial advisors. Get real quick past the retirement goals. Those are going to change over time, but really focus on building meaningful lives, aligning values with dollars. I steal that from Scott Frank. He's the one that said that to me. That really resonates with me. So if the future of our profession lies with what we saw at WellStack with technology, investment opportunities, I think the future of the financial planning component of this advisory relationship is going to be along these lines. So if you're a young financial advisor or you're a financial advisor who has an established practice wanting to be here for the long term, take those things, combine that with questions like this, deeper relationships with your clients. I think you have a business model for success. So without any more rambling from me, Project One question, WellStack. If you went to the doctor office today and found out today was your last day, what would you look back on life and reflecting? What would you want to change? What would you want to do different? And that is the answer to where you need to move your focus on your financial planning to get that in line while your long-term goals are being made. Build the life that you want to live today and have a meaningful life.
Well, the number one thing is I wish I'd done what you did last night, which was hang out at the club until what, 4 in the morning?
That was not
6
me,
in the morning.
I
Come
left
on.
early. You try to get me in trouble. I was out after half.
I mean, I hear your voice. I don't believe it. But no, I think I really have to cheat because it's 2. I think number 1, bluntly, is I would have had kids sooner. I have a little boy. You have 3. And it's really like the happiest part of my life. And I think that no regrets. Like, obviously, I can't go back. But if I could change one thing, I think it's I would have started that process of procreation a little bit sooner, just mostly because of the joy that children bring, and it's magical. Like, it's beyond description. Anybody with kids knows that. But secondly, I think I would have started saving earlier, and I think that was exactly the answer that I gave you during the last podcast, which was I would have started saving earlier. But like, I was thinking about it, and I had a dozen answers, but that was the number 1. Because if you're an advisor and you've been studying client behavior and you're studying practice, like the one thing that we control with our clients is savings rate, right? The savings rate, withdrawal rate. But ultimately, it's like money in, money out, and that matters. And the more exposure that you have to a risk-based asset portfolio early, the longer that has to compound. And I just wish that I'd like taken my dad's advice, because it's the most painful thing in the world to say, but Dad was right. I should have started saving earlier. And I think like my colleague Ben Carlson, he was talking about this recently on Animal Spirits, was that he started saving $50 a month when he first started to work. And that habit, that compound habit of doing that, even if it was just in a savings account throughout the years, has really served him well as a person. And so I know that's the advice, Justin, you give to your clients. That's the advice you give to ours. It's just, you got to get started. You got to get started saving, and get started saving while you have the most time to learn. Andrew.
I read a quote. I was watching something yesterday, and it said that a man has to judge his life based on the amount of people he's able to serve, he's able to enhance. I think that I want to touch more people. I would go back and take every little opportunity, whether that's to drop off a bag of a couple noodles or to just be present, right? I think the biggest charity is presence, right? At different events in the community, or at Boys and Girls Clubs, or at schools, right? To say that if I can overcome the odds, you can too. So I think that I would focus a lot more on service and hopefully plant the seed in the mind that might change the world.
I don't know if I have regrets. I think the only regret that I have is I wish I had put my phone down more and spent more time face-to-face with the people that I love and engaging with people who are in front of me. One of the problems with phones today is that you always feel like you can talk to somebody new or engage with somebody who's a fingertip away when there's a real human being sitting right across from you who's always available to engage. So that's the one thing that I wish I'd do a lot better than I'm doing right now.
So I thought about this a little bit, gave it some thought. I think creating some sort of legacy to leave my kids. My kids are everything, and having the ability for them, now that we have video, I think I would turn on the video camera all day long so that they could have nuanced moments with me and kind of understand the psyche. I forget the name of the book. I think it's The Message, where a grandfather dies and leaves his son a book that gives him all the tools to become wealthy, and doesn't give him all of his wealth when he dies. And I think it would be really important for me to make sure my story was told so that they understood who their father was and how that can help them become the people that they could be, to optimize and be the best versions of themselves. I think I'd have the video camera on all day long, and I'd be trying to brain dump my story, telling them my life story, telling them what I've learned from it, my biggest takeaways, so that they could have that. Things that I would want to do for myself, that's a little bit harder. I can't imagine being in that position. What's crazy is that a lot of people are in that position every single day, and I don't know how they'd emotionally manage that. But I think making sure that I tell my story, because a lot of that has been kept in, because I don't want to throw people under the bus as I've gone through that. And a lot of people that have advocated for me that I love to highlight and make sure that when I leave, those people and the people around them know that these are the great lights of the world to be able to focus on. I think gratitude would have to be a big one, sharing my story and making sure to highlight those people who are gems in the world.
Well, I don't have much of life to look back on since I'm relatively young in the industry, but for the past year of me being an owner, I would say that I've been hypercritical of how people perceive me, and that has kind of stalled me from sharing my story. And so being here, being around this community of advisors for the first time has really motivated and inspired me to share my story, because I never know who it can resonate with and whose lives I can potentially change. So for me, that's something that I'm going to change as soon as I get back, and I'm going to share my story and just be happy with the results regardless of what they are, because at the end of the day, if I'm being authentic, then that's all there is.
Outside of the fact that I would be at home with my boys right now, I probably really wouldn't change a whole lot. I love that the business gives me an opportunity to spend a good amount of time with my kids. I can find a pretty great life balance. I said the only thing I might change though is that I would probably express my gratitude for people more, and so that's definitely something that I need to work on as we move forward. So I really wouldn't change a whole lot, except for I would probably do a better job expressing my gratitude towards everybody around me.
Yeah, I think it's a great question, and it's one I have thought about a lot, and that's the reason that I do what I do now, because I had a significant career change 10 years ago when I stopped being a lawyer and started doing this, for the reason that it gives me more time to think, and now that I've got kids and a wife, it allows me to spend a lot of time with them, which is ultimately what it's all about. So yeah, I think it's an excellent question. It's one that I try to live all the time.
What I would do different is I wouldn't spend so much time worrying about what other people think, and more time worrying about spending time with the people that mean the most to me. For me right now, that's my wife, that's my son. If I have more kids in the future, it's going to be my family, but it's also going to be the people that I've grown to know and love. It's my friends, it's my community. And this will sound weird, but it's financial Twitter, it's FinTwit. It's people like you, it's people like all the other folks that flew out to Arizona in 110-degree heat, because we all want to do better for people. And spending time here, it's time away from the office, it's time away from my family, but it's time with people that mean a lot to me, and that's all I would do different.
One of the main things that I have some regrets for and that I would possibly change is the fact that I never spent as much time with my kids on a one-on-one basis. I always try to make time for all of them and for family, which was tough based on work life and family life balance, especially given all of the traveling that I do. But I wish that I would spend more one-on-one time with my 3 boys and be able to give them the time and quality that they deserve.
pretty fortunate in life that I don't think I have a lot of regrets that I would look back and wish to try to change. I think I'd spend those last 24 hours thinking about how do I help my kids answer what we call the 3 important questions. 1 is, are you a good person? 2, are you making good decisions? And 3, are you finding the positive? And everything I do in that last 24 hours will be focused on helping them realize that every year for as long as they're going to be around.
One of the things I would definitely change would be a little bit more dedicated to learning Spanish. Being 3rd generation, I was kind of more Americanized, so I didn't get to really speak Spanish much in the household. So where that kind of comes to me and how I feel emotionally is being able to actually talk to my grandma. I feel that I get to actually communicate with my grandma and we can talk, but never really get on a deep level that you would want to have with your grandparents. And on my mother's side, my mother's mom, not really getting to that level that you can get deeper is kind of one of the things I think I would like to, if I got to turn back the clock in time, do that. I still have the chance to do it, but that would be one thing that comes top of mind, definitely.